Okie dokie, good afternoon. I am hoping this is coming through a little bit better than the last one on Friday. I found a few settings to fix in in OBS. Mainly, I turned down the FPS. I didn't realize the FPS defaulted to 60. That was a little too much for this rig. So I do apologize that Fictitious Fridays was so crazy for the inaugural, but hopefully this one's coming out a little bit better. So yeah, this is Meandering Mondays. This is gonna be kind of even more of a different flavor to what you may have seen from me before. It's gonna be kind of a game of intellectual telephone, is the best way that I could describe it. I'm starting with a single topic, as the springboard, and that topic with some questions that I have about it and some various things that I've seen about the topic, and kind of got some questions that I want to dive into and things that I want to explore from that springboard, and basically just see how deep this rabbit hole goes. This is kind of an experimental sort of thing, trying to bring y'all into my train of thought as an autistic creator. I'm hoping that the way this will come out is literally showing you how my brain works on the screen. At least that is the hope. I don't know if it will actually come to pass as I wish it will, but we are certainly going to see. The music for today, in keeping with our current Springboard's theme, is kind of a dark academia sort of theme, from Michael Gelfi again. That album is linked in the description. I'm gonna go ahead and get over here to... I want to make sure that this is actually picking up... it should be capturing my cursor. Let me double check here. It should be. Okay, we should be good there. So I'm gonna go ahead and make my eye behave first and foremost. Maybe. Okay. Alright, so, in case you are unaware, The Coven was a book published in the fall of 2023 by Harper L. Woods. You can see the image of it here on the PDFs that I have snagged. And of course, as we all should, do support the official authors and the official releases of various things that you will see here. I am only using these as fair use content. This is not going to be a situation where I provide the entire text of the book to you. This is just so I have a copy so I can look at a few things. Now, I first heard about the Coven yesterday. I was watching a Reads with Rachel rant review video, where it really sparked my attention, not really my interest, but my attention, because it's very similar to things that I have read in the past, but it sounds like it's much less well done, sadly. There's a lot of, how do I want to put this? There's a lot of money to be made in, like, romantasy, specifically dark academia romantasy. It takes all the best aspects of those things that we loved from our youth. Things like Harry Potter, Hunger Games, Percy Jackson and the Olympians. All of these sort of franchises that we were first introduced to as teenagers, as adolescents, as young adults, but grown up and having a little more dark edge to them, a little more gravitas, and a little more exposed necklines and Victorian corsetry and stuff like that, which can be super fun. Don't get me wrong, I love me a good academia story. The problem seems to have been with this specific book and or this duology or series, is that it was marketed as plot-heavy dark academia romantasy in that order. Dark academia first, romantasy second. And apparently what it has turned into, what actually hit the page and actually hit shelves, is almost entirely erotica rather than actual plot and world building and dark academia goodness. So that is kind of the gist of what Reads with Rachel's review said. I have not read this in its entirety myself. I do have plans to do so. This is more just the springboard, because there were a few things that were mentioned in the review that I wanted to jump into, as far as things that could have been done better. So, one of the, this is going to be a little bit spoilery. One of the, like, the biggest reveal, the biggest plot reveal in the book, is that the main love interest, or smexy interest, as it turns out, the vessel, Gray, or I forget his names, Alaric Thorn, Alaric Grayson Thorn or something. Anyway, the main bad dark zaddy turns out to be literal, again, spoiler, turns out to be literal Lucifer. Like, literally Lucifer trapped in a mortal frame. That's the concept. We know from the book that the vessels are supposed to be, they're written as trapped demons, but they're played as vampires. They are vampires. They crave mortal flesh and blood. They require blood to sustain their mortal frames, and they thirsty for the smexy. That's it. That they are vampires, but they're like, there's plot here that could have been so well done and apparently was not. It's just set dressing. It's plot armor and set dressing. The vessels, capital V vessels, are reskinned vampires, and the lead vessel, the like head vessel, the king vessel, turns out to actually be Lucifer. So that makes Lucifer not only king of demons but king of vampires, which does not fit the canon. So we got that to deal with, which is going to be one of my jumping off points, is Lucifer vampire, and we'll get to that here in a minute. The other big gripe, and I'm going to turn on my PDF dark mode here, which, again, this is my autistic brain showing here. I cannot read PDFs in white mode anymore. I have to have them in dark mode. And I like looking at the cover art and like illustrations and stuff in dark mode, because I think you can tell a lot about the quality of something from its inverse coloration. The cover here for the Coven, look at it again in light mode. Ooh, you know what? It's pretty, I guess. But when you actually turn it inverse, you can see all of this detail back here just goes away. It's so muddied. There's no detail here. It's just kind of, honestly, this is, and I hate to throw a friend under the bus. I asked a friend from a stream group a couple of years ago if she would put together just like a logo that I could use temporarily until I could learn how to graphic design and make my own sort of stuff. The logo that she made for me has a lot of these same elements, like the ring, like a mirror, the skeleton hands, the roses, the vines. You can still see that logo on some of my earlier gaming streams on Nasa Does Games. The text of it is Nasa Does Cosplay, because that was still the brand I was using then. But the whole vibe here is giving me that. It feels like that, and it's all muddy. It's pixelated. It doesn't work once you like take a deeper look at it. Like all of this, I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. All of this, This is, I think it's supposed to just look corroded. It just looks pixelated, which is sad. Look at it. It's sad. Okay, moving on. So, one of the other big gripes that Reads with Rachel had, and I feel like it's a legitimate gripe, is the, hang on, gotta scroll it, okay, the trigger and content warnings, and how this page does not, it almost spoils things for the book, and it doesn't really function to actually accurately capture the actual, like, points of problems in the text. So we're gonna go over these. The first bit here, the Coven is a dark paranormal romance with gothic vibes and a dark academia setting. Based on Reads with Rachel's review, it's erotica with a dark paranormal bent and gothic vibes and a dark academia set dressing. It's not an accurate representation of what's actually in the book. The male lead in this series is pushy, domineering, and manipulative. When we get into the text, according to Reads with Rachel, and she read some of the stuff out loud, like some of the main male leads, like, thought processes. This is a dual POV book, so we get his direct POV. The trigger content warning here says pushy, domineering, and manipulative, when in actuality he is absolutely predatory. Not pushy, predatory, domineering, arrogant, not domineering, arrogant, and narcissistic. And manipulative, yes, that's the only accurate term of the three here. He goes beyond my typical morally gray anti-hero and is, in my opinion, an actual villain who gets his HEA, his happily ever after. Again, at the end of the book, it is revealed that this character, this male lead, is Satan, is Lucifer, in a humanish form, a vampiric form. So his happily ever after is destroying everyone else's happily ever afters. So there's a problem here. There's a problem here. The author so far has misrepresented the core elements of this story. That is a problem. Trigger and content warnings are supposed to be available to the reader so that they can avoid reading something that could harm their mental health or their social trust. This does nothing except do a bait and switch. This is a bait and switch, and that is problem. That is bad. As a writer, we do not want to be doing that. We want to accurately represent the content of our books so that readers can make the informed, consensual decisions to read. This is not what that is. The rest of the triggers: dubious consent, forced feeding, forced graphic violence. Okay. Rough and explicit sexual content. Rough does not accurately capture the scenes that are depicted on the page. We're talking BDSM. There is actual BDSM shit that happens in this story. Rough is not an accurate capture. The problem that I'm having here, as a fellow would-be writer who has not been mainstream published yet, is this does not accurately capture what you have written. And that's a problem, because that does not allow your reader to make an informed choice to read or not read your book. Rough is not an accurate word. It should be explicitly stated that there is BDSM scenes in this book. Forced proximity. Again, this feels problematic because it's not an accurate representation. The forced proximity is the main male character, the Luciferian character, imposing himself on the female character. He invades her space and drags her into essentially a prison situation with him. That is not forced proximity, that is captivity. That is kidnapping. It is all but abduction. Problem. Betrayal. Betrayal does not need, I feel, does not need to be a trigger or content warning without a qualifier. In this case, the betrayal would be betrayal of the, if you want to call him the love interest, betrayal of the romantic interest to their partner. That's it. Because the entire, like, final act of the book is him coming out of the closet and being like, yo, I'm actually Lucifer. And so that's the betrayal. But it should be, like, a little bit more pinpointed down, because betrayal could be anything. What are we betraying? Are we betraying our heterosexuality for bisexuality? What are we doing? What betrayal? What? Explain, please. References to past abuse and traumatic reactions to triggering stimuli. That's a good trigger and content warning. That's a good one. It's good. It captures the issues. Good. Knife violence, again, captures the issues. Graphic depictions of blood. Okay, that's a good content warning. However, if it were me writing this content list, I would explain, like, I would have the graphic depictions of blood include drinking of blood. That is a whole other, like, that's a whole other beast. Graphic depictions of blood is not the same as drinking blood, which drinking blood is one of the main, like, scenes in, like, it's all of the scenes in this book. So that's not an accurate representation. Again, it's good if that was all it was, but it's not. It doesn't capture the whole continuity here. Physical harm inflicted upon the main character, that's kind of a given. But again, it's a good thing that it's here. And this one right here, which I am not going to say out loud because that seems a little like I'm gonna get pinged by YouTube, and I've just barely gotten started on the second channel. But this right here is a problem. This is a problem. Because again, it does not fully capture what actually happens. It's not just ritualistic this, it's ritualistic this multiple times. There are multiple instances of it, and not all of it's shown on the page. Some of it's in the past as well. So I guess I'm actually talking out of my ass here with that one. It is included in the book, therefore it's here. I guess that's fine. Never mind. I got a little too heated there. That's my bad. I can admit when I'm wrong. This one, good content warning. But let's count them up, how many of these are inaccurate or not fully capturing everything. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. 8 of the 15. More than half of the content warnings provided to this book are inaccurate or do not accurately capture what is in the book. It's disappointing. It's disappointing because if I had gone into this, as Reads with Rachel did, if I'd gone into this unforewarned, the book that we get is not the book I would be expecting based on these warnings. So, that's a thing. I would like to do a similar situation here with The Cursed before I start diving into my game of Deep Dive Telephone. The Cursed is the second book, the follow-up to The Coven, and there's not a lot of change in the art. It's a little bit more detailed. There's not as much pixelation going on, but it's still the same vibe. So actually, at first glance, it's really hard to tell which book you're reading. Just looking at them here. You've got The Coven and you've got The Cursed. And they're the exact same, like, there's no difference here, which I guess is part of the point, but I think my main problem here is the font for the title. It's more clear here, and it's less readable here. This is not very, accessible is not the right word. It does not please the eye. It's muddy, again, not muddy in the same way, but it's still like, it's obscured. I can hardly read this. It's a little nitpick, but it's still a nitpick. So, let me come back. Okay, there we go. So we're gonna go ahead and get down here to, I wanted to get right here, I think. Maybe it was this. The other thing that I didn't mention here was the dedication. Somewhere right there. So her dedications, for those who love them villainous, and then in the second book it's for those who love them murderous. I feel like, and again, this is coming from like a writer's brain perspective, this is a little bit of a step down. It feels like villainous kind of is an umbrella term. It usually encompasses things like unaliving people. So this feels like in the second book we should be ramping things up. The tension should be increasing, not downgrading. Does that make sense? It's a tiny little thing, but it's what my brain pings on. So things this time just triggers. And we don't get the little blurb up front that tells us anything more. It's straight in, look at this, straight into a bullet list. So I'm going to go ahead and put them all on the screen and we'll look at them together. I did not look at them very closely before this, so we're going to look at them together. Okay, so we've got this again, and this again, and this, and again, this. I know nothing about this book, but I'm pretty sure that rough is going to be not enough of a term. Forced proximity and captive scenario. Now at least we've got this on here. We've got this. Yay! It's included now. Huzzah! But we're still stuck on this. What sort of betrayal? Give me more information so I can make a proper assessment. This is exactly the same. This is exactly the same. This is exactly the same, and still does not capture the fact that it's slurping. We're talking about eating it. We're not talking about just graphic depiction. We are talking about vampiric. Okay? God. This is the same. This is the same. Okay. Okay, this is a problem. This is a problem, and it says it's off-page historical content. This makes me mad. I'm sorry, I'm gonna scroll past this really quickly. That makes me mad. Because... Okay, I'm gonna scroll up the other way real quick. It makes me mad because this. That is not a trigger, that is a content warning. So again, it's like this writer is not thinking about how to accurately portray the content in her book so a reader can make an informed decision. Calling it a trigger, that topic, calling it a trigger makes it seem like not everyone would be triggered by this. Are you kidding me? Oh my god. I am getting a headache. I know Reads with Rachel got a headache from doing her review of it, but I'm getting a headache. Lord. Okay, I'm gonna have to scroll back and have it on the screen for just another minute so we can read the last few. But I'm not gonna highlight it again. This makes sense. I feel like this doesn't need to be on this page. This doesn't feel like it needs to be there. because again, that's not something it's implied by the other stuff. It's implied by the other stuff. It doesn't need to be here in that term. It just feels like you're focusing on all the wrong things. You're not putting the right stuff out there, I think, is the problem that I'm having here. And then of course this makes sense. I still feel like it's a content more than a trigger. Yeah, it feels messy. These trigger and content warnings feel messy. It feels like they were thrown together at the last minute, and it almost feels like they were thrown together by like a beta reader who only got bits and pieces of chapters as they came out. Like, it doesn't feel like the author wrote these. It feels like she handed this off to somebody else and was like, here, put something together. They won't read it if I don't have this in there. And it's like, it feels messy and it feels like nonchalant, like no care was taken. And that's upsetting because, again, I love me a good dark story. I love to read dark shit. I've got what is it? Phantasma or something. I've got a lot of dark gothic romantic shit in my like 2BR pile, and I love it. I love it when it's done well and with care. You can tell a dark story. You can tell a dark, like, blood magic type story with care for your reader. And this feels like it wasn't done with care. I think that's my biggest issue. It feels messy and it feels like it wasn't done with care. Okay, so I'm going to move on a little bit because there's a couple things I want to check. I'm gonna write a note for myself here. I think it's okay. I'm gonna get to that here in a minute. But we're gonna look at this really quick. I'm gonna ignore the AI. I'm gonna ignore that. So it looks like, what's this? Blood Rain and Mia the Vampire Slayer. Okay, we can take a look at that. Lucifer Dark Eclipse. I don't know what that means. Okay, what do we got from Reddit? Demonolatry practices. I want to look at that for sure. How strong is Lucifer Morningstar compared to known vampires and werewolves? I think that's gonna be well, that sounds like a supernatural question. Like the supernatural fandom. Okay, Lucifer versus Dracula versus Battles Wiki. Okay. Alright, I want to go look at this, where is it? Here. I want to look at this first. Because I feel like this is going to be the be-all and end-all of the debate. At least I hope so. Okay. So, we'll give credit where it's due here. The Ayatollah of Chaos is the one who wrote this. So, at some point in my life, I was reading someone who claimed to discover that Lucifer was the first vampire. I remember thinking how astounding an idea that was, and though I didn't believe in vampires, the idea made a lot of sense to me. Lucifer is often portrayed as a sympathetic, evil character, and vampires are often portrayed as sympathetic, evil characters as well. Who knows, I thought, maybe in the realm of spirit they're as real as you and I, and they're Lucifer's children of sorts. Well, lately the idea has been cropping up again and again to me, but I can't find the original source. Has anyone heard this or read about it? Any information, even if it's not where I first read it? Okay, so further information. If it helps, I think the same source mentioned Lucifer as being a dragon as well, that vampires are a human and beast mix, sometimes more than one beast. For instance, bat vampires, wolf vampires, spider vampires, dragon vampires. Dracula means son of the dragon, so either he or his creator were of the Vampiros Draconis classification. This meant he was of a descendant of Lucifer, who, being demon god / fallen angel, can incarnate at will, and he is or is related to or associated with the dragon from Revelation, thus being Vampiros Draconis. This is also how vampires were seen as being damned. They were the children of Lucifer. In any case, it was a fascinating read. I hope someone else saw it too. Okay, so I'm gonna, let's see, this says best, so we're gonna leave it as is. So, Priest of the Beast, OV, the Beast. Lucifer is more in the celestial or astral territory than vampires, with the exception of energy vampires. They're usually human, and we think of sanguine, blood-drinking vampires when discussing their origins. So when it comes to those origins, we usually attribute Cain to being the father of vampires. There's also a whole branch of satanic organizations that work with vampire aesthetics and energies. Energy vampires are people that drain the energy of others around them. This usually invigorates them by just being a general nuisance. That's less intentional and more common. There's also deliberate energy vampires, usually a magic user, that chooses to drain the energy of someone around them for their benefit or to attack them. TLDR, Cain is theorized to be the father of blood-drinking vampires. Okay, we got another one here from a deleted account. I was always read and told that Cain and Lulua were the first earthly vampires with a Y, and witches. We got a reply from OP. Thank you for your reply. Who are they? They just copied this down from their edit. We got one reply. Hope it's actually... Okay. Okay, so it's just... Okay, so Cain was the first murderer, and his wife Lulua were the first witches, vampires, left-hand path ascended masters, and founded the first human settlement. They're venerated in a lot of traditions, including traditional witchcraft, vampirism, and demon magic. Okay, so it was just a alternative spelling of Cain. Makes sense. Okay, one thing that I do know is that anytime you see an X like this, it's meant to be the Kai for Christ, so this is Christianity, Xtianity. I like it. Alright, so there isn't any association, or this is from Chlobo Baggins. Okay, Chlobo Baggins 7. There isn't any association between Lucifer and the practice of vampirism, other than both being left-hand path practices. It would be actually offensive, in my opinion, to consider Lucifer a vampire. I've commented on this before, since I spent time briefly around a vampire subculture, and they're very much human. As another commenter mentioned, they often categorize themselves as either energy or sanguine, using others' energy to increase their own. Kinda lines up with some Levian philosophies, not my cup of tea, but to each their own. I want to look this up now. What is that? Levian philosophy. Boop. Alright, so I'll let that load, and I'll come back over here, see if there's anything else I'm missing here. There's a book called Vampirology. This is from Robalka 14. Book called Vampirology. Children's book, but it states that vampires are basically demons incarnate, and even draws parallels between fallen angels and them, especially Belial, I think, and Moloch. Okay, I remember Reads with Rachel said Belial was one of the names in, like, the ultimate reveal at the end of the book, so I'm gonna need to look that up as well. Okay. That's not... This is not helpful. This is not helpful. Okay. Alright, so I think the main reason I wanted to look at this was we're trying to see if there's other instances of, and this was a question that Reads with Rachel brought up as well, are there other depictions of Lucifer as a vampire that are any good? Because it is an intriguing concept, if not a little blasphemous. I don't think there's anything wrong with it as a, like, creative fictional exercise. I don't think there's any canonical reason to equate Lucifer to vampirism. That's never been a part of his, like, iconography, because, again, Lucifer is the first fallen angel. And that's not even in just the straight biblical mythos. That's not, there's no vampirism like tacked on there. So canonically, no. Creatively, why not? If it's done well. Again, because there's so much canon behind Lucifer. Alright, so I want to go back to this, see what this is. So is this supernatural? I'm very confused. This is a supernatural wiki because we're talking alpha. Okay. So Eve ordered the alpha. So where's the alpha come from? I'm not caught up on supernatural. I do remember that the whole. Okay, so I want to talk about like vampirism really quickly as like the fictional staple. I feel personally, my opinion only, I feel like the best iteration of vampires was actually Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think that was the best because it dealt in the murkiness of something that is half-breed. We love a good like half-breed story. Vampirism in Buffy the Vampire Slayer universe is a vampire is a mixture of demonic energy in living human blood. That's what creates a vampire. That's why vampires have to you have to drink the vampire's blood and the vampire has to drink your blood. It's blood mixing. It's taking the original demon essence and filtering it down through the ages and mixing it and all that jazz. And that's why the Turok Khan from season 7 of Buffy were so much different. That's why the Master from season 1 was so different, because they were closer to the OG source, or they were the OG source. Like the Turok Khan are OG non-human influenced vampires. And that's super cool. Like that lore is super, like it's solid. You cannot fault that. That logic tracks. I like the idea that Supernatural had. I remember watching a few of the alpha episodes. I like it. I feel like it was kind of hand-wavy a little bit. It didn't feel as grounded as something like when we got The Darkness, when we got Lilith and all that jazz with Supernatural universe. So I personally feel like the best vampire iteration is from Buffy universe. I don't dislike the Supernatural version. But I'm going to go ahead and let that go because we know that that's not a Lucifer vampire. Blood Rain and Mia, the Vampire Slayer wiki. Who from what where? What is this? This is just a Lucifer page. What is this? What is this fandom? I don't even know. What is this? A Dampier and a Vampire Slayer named Mia. From what? Is this just is this fanfic? What is this? Okay, I'm gonna... Blood, Rain, and Mia. Yeah, okay. Same, I have the same fucking question. What is this? Okay, I was right. Thank you, JS Croft Lover. Thank you. Okay, I'm gonna close this one. We're gonna move on. Former Bible worker why did you leave? Okay, how strong is Lucifer Morningstar? Ow. Compared to known vampires and werewolves. If you were to believe the stories, be stronger. Why would the vampires and... Oh, Satan would be... Sorry. There's no punctuation here! Blah, 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 blah. Okay, whatever. Lucifer's in the DC comics? Alright, cool. Wait, is that the Netflix show? Is that DC? Whatever. But that's beside the point. That is a tangent. I don't need that. Okay. So what I wanted to do here, was just look at, see, this, I never looked at this before reading Fourth Wing, but I know that this is a good, like, look at this. This is a good trigger and content warning thing. It doesn't spoil anything. It does, I mean, it does a little bit, like right here. It does, but it doesn't. It's not so specific that it spoils the entire fucking story. It is specific enough that you could decide not to read based on these triggers, and everything objectionable in here, the only thing I see missing is the sex. That's the only thing missing, because sex is depicted on the page. That's the only thing missing from the Fourth Wing trigger list. From, where is this from? Goodreads? Or just trigger warning database. Anyway, that's it. That's the only thing missing. That is a good trigger list. You can tell that this was put together by someone who knew what was in the book and who wanted people to be aware of what was in the book so they could choose to read or not read. I want to go and get, let me stick with the same, my eye is acting up again. Okay. I want to go look at Iron Flame. Maybe. Oh, this is just the trick. Okay, hang on. Where do I find... There we go. Sorry. Never actually used this website. Now I'm going to. This is the master list. Okay, so it's the master list. So we're gonna go I for Iron Flame. Or not. Can I go back? Can I go back? Can I go right here? Helpful thou art not. Huh. Okay, let's just go Iron Flame content warnings. I'm trying to look for something that's not like a forum. There we go. Oh yeah, let's go to her actual fucking website. Come on, Nasa, you have a brain. Alright. There we go. Oh, come back. Trigger warnings! So, again, this might, if you haven't read it yet, you're slightly warned. Iron Flame is a non-stop thrilling adventure fantasy set in the brutal and competitive world of a military college for dragon riders. Bam. That is your setting. That is your setting, and that is your genre. And it is. It fits. It captures the exact context. Which includes elements. Which means it's going to have bits and pieces and themes that are correlating to these things. War, battle, hand-to-hand combat, perilous situations, blood, intense violence, brutal injuries, death, poisoning, graphic language, and sexual activities that are shown on the page. Now, the only thing that is not explicitly mentioned here is the concept of torture. But that goes under regarding war and perilous situations, as well as intense violence and brutal injuries. It covers that concept in a few different avenues. So, the theory that this works for me, again, because anyone who was specifically looking to avoid the concept of torture in their reading would be thinking about brutal injuries, perilous situations, war, the blood, the intense violence, and they would know, if this is all in there, I'm going to avoid that book. They don't necessarily need to see that it says torture, scenes of torture, to know that that is something they should avoid. This works. This is a trigger warning blurb that works. Let's go look at Fourth Wing on her official page and see if we get something similar. Excuse me. Boop. She has other books. I'm gonna need to come back and look at this. Okay, so Fourth Wing, trigger warnings. Let's see. It looks exactly the same, but that works. Okay. Cool. Cool. Now we're gonna go back again, and we're gonna look at Onyx Storm. Again, this won't have spoilers, obviously. But if you are a fan of the series, you definitely need to read Onyx Storm. Alright, so is this the same thing again? Yes, it is. Good. Okay, so the trigger warnings are the same on her official page for all 3 books, but it works because it encapsulates everything that could be objectionable to a reader in one blurb. I admire this. I aspire to this. This is how it should be done. Not whatever the heck these were. Ugh. Okay. This feels professional. This feels like she cares about her readers, or her, wants to make sure that nobody's going to try to read her stuff that wouldn't feel comfortable. That's what I mean. It shows care. It shows competency and care. Okay, moving on. So, I needed to look at what LaVeyan Satanism is. What is this? We're gonna go to Wiki. Come on, Wikipedia. Okay. LaVeyan is the name given to the form promoted by American occultist Anton LaVey. Founded the Church of Satan in San Francisco in 1966. So it's just traditional. It's when people think of Satanism, they probably think of LaVeyan Satanism. His writings were, oh no, not Ayn Rand. Oh man. Okay, so again, a little bit of a telephone here, intellectual telephone here, but in 10th grade, when I was in 10th grade, 10th grade or 9th grade? 10th grade. When I was in 10th grade, our English, I was in an AP English course, and AP being advanced placement in the American education system, such as it tragically is. So Ayn Rand was, I had never heard the name. I considered myself a well-read teenager, but I had never heard of this person. And our AP English teacher was a bit of an old kook. Honestly, looking back, I can admit that. At the time, though, I really admired her. She asked us to do a lot of really deep, critical thinking about the texts that we were reading, and it was probably sometime between Halloween and the Thanksgiving late November holiday, so sometime in the early fall, mid-fall, whatever. We got to the next entry, the next book on our syllabus, and it was Anthem by Ayn Rand. I love me a good one-word book title. I love it. And it was very small, this big. And I remember the teacher said that she wasn't going to tell us anything about the book, but that we needed to read the book over the weekend and come in ready to discuss it on Monday. So I went home and I read the book. Y'all, don't get me wrong here. I enjoyed the book. It still has left an impression on me to this day, as far as how to write a very unreliable narrator realizing they are unreliable and choosing to move beyond their cultural framework. That is what I didn't have. Here's the thing: I didn't have the literary like chops, the authorial chops to be able to say it then like I did just now. But I loved it. I thought it was an incredible like view through very foreign feeling eyes, and to realize that the core, like the crux, the big reveal of the book was that this was a future. This was a future book, kind of like Planet of the Apes, where we find out, oh my god, it's actually Earth. It was that the ruins that the main character escaped to and was exiled to was a library of humanity that had been lost and buried, and the culture had moved on to this like collectivistic there is no I. The word I was lost, and that was such a fun like framing for me as a budding little writer and creative to see how this all came together in the big reveal. I loved it. I thought it was the best twist I'd ever seen, and I'd watched The Village like 5,000 times. I love M. Night Shyamalan shit. And I loved this. I thought it felt very Shyamalan to me. I loved it. So I came in on Monday. I was ready. I was ready to go to town. I was so ready to discuss this book. And I remember I went off about everything I just went off about, and the teacher let me ramble for a bit, and then she said that's not the point of the book, and she shut me down. And I tried to argue with her. I'm like, but no, the point of a book is whatever you take from it. She's like, that's not the point of the book. And she basically told me that I was an idiot. And our assignment, like, I shut up. I let her teach her course, but I was seething. And so the assignment for the end of the week was to write an essay about, I don't even remember the exact, like, I think it was just write about the themes of the book and everything. So I wrote a defense of my interpretation and why, what exactly I took issue with as far as the prescribed interpretation. And she gave me a D. She gave me a D because I had perfect grammar, because it was a well-written essay, but she gave me a D because, again, and I remember this clearly, red marker, you missed the point entirely. I was a straight A, AP Advanced Placement student. That was the only D I ever received. I went home crying to my mother. My mother went and took it to like the teacher, like she was a teacher in that school district, and she went to bat for me. Like, we had a sit down like conference with that teacher, with my other teachers, with my mother, and with the assistant principal. And they're all like, how on earth do you figure that this kid, this little teacher's pet, how do you figure she got a D? Everybody except this teacher was on my side. They eventually forced her to, like, the grade stood, but she could no longer grade my essays on whether or not she agreed with my interpretation. And I really appreciate that, because it allowed me to maintain my creative bent, but that woman hated me. She actually didn't give any other essays. She did not assign any more essays because she knew she wouldn't be able to grade mine in the way that she'd been told to grade it, because she had to bite her lip. So I loved Ayn Rand's book. I didn't realize until a couple of years ago that her politics and her writings were written to support her politics, that her politics were very not great and don't really mesh with my current politics, but I can still admire the way that she can craft a story that forces those questions, that exposes these issues. And I get it now. I get now why that teacher said I missed the point, because I did miss the point. Ayn Rand's point, the point that this book Anthem was written to push, was that individualism is bad, the collective is what matters, and without the collective you will die. Whereas I took the stance that the individual who reclaimed the pronoun I and their individualism and divested themselves from the collective, that their perspective, the protagonist's perspective, was correct, that was what we should strive to do. I basically was viewing everything through the eyes of the protagonist rather than viewing why the protagonist was wrong, which is what the book was supposed to teach. So, yeah, I get it now. Intellectually, I get it. But I'm still a little peeved about it because that's the only D I ever got, and I fucking hated it. And I didn't have the wherewithal to to really understand it until I matured. So I don't think that Ayn Rand should be read by teenagers, because it basically forces you into you have to listen to what your teacher says and repeat it by rote, because you literally don't have the nuance of thought to the book is portraying a hero who isn't a hero, who's a failure. It's so wild. I cannot. I have not read Atlas Shrugged. I have not read any other books by Ayn Rand. I know The Fountainhead is supposed to be a good one too, but I haven't read anything else by Ayn Rand. But I still admire the creative effort behind Anthem. So, yeah, that's me. That's me on Ayn Rand. So, whoa, that was the whole point of this, right? Was to get into my deep dive. All right, so let's go see what's up with Belial. Oh, okay. We're gonna look at that. Academic biblical should be good. And we'll look at the wiki. What is this? Demonic Paradise. That seems like it's gonna be thick again. God, I don't care about God questions. Diablo is it's not gonna help us. The Catholic Encyclopedia might be helpful. The Jewish Encyclopedia, there we go. Yeah, alright, so I want information. Give me information. I went down me too, indie riots, me too. Now very confused as to who Lucifer and Belial are. Lucifer is a fallen angel, also known as Satan at the same time. Belial is considered to be the true name of Satan. From my research, though, Lucifer and Belial are considered to be different entities. So what exactly is the distinction? Are both of them Satan? Are they different parts that represent his different forms, similarly as how God is the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, or are they different entities altogether? Okay, so Nathan Storm says Lucifer comes from the Latin lucem fere, which means light bearer, a name for the dawn appearance of the planet Venus. This first appeared in Isaiah chapter 14, a passage that refers to the king of Babylon who laid the nations low. Isaiah talks of the king's pomp and splendor, how he'd ruled the nations in anger, and his fate after his overthrow by the king of Persia. He had compared himself to the morning star as the son of the morning, and was thus derisorily, that is a word, I think it's derisively, called Lucifer. The king had thought that he would ascend into heaven and sit among the stars, but was now himself persecuted. This text was misunderstood by early Christian scholars who assumed that it referred to Satan being cast down from heaven. The devil had many names in Jewish apocalyptic literature. We'll need to talk about this here in a second. Such as Satan, Samael, Asmodeus, Satanael, Belial, and Beelzebub, but not Lucifer. The earliest Christian church father who equated Lucifer with Satan is Tertullian. Okay. You spelled that wrong. No, it's not the morning. It's not morning. Like weep it. No, what? God's prosecuting attorney? What? Okay, usual inspection 149. Okay. All right, I want to go over here because this is academic biblical. I recognize they seemed so we got Man Random 87 is the asker here. I recognize they seem to be an anti-God entity similar to the devil, and they are mentioned in the New Testament and the Dead Sea Scrolls, but I would like to know more about them. Okay, so we've got Ants in My Eyes Johnson. Okay. The Dictionary of Deities and Demons in the Bible has a long entry on Belial, starting with the term that predates the later development of a specific character, which it describes as: in the manner of other ancient peoples, the Hebrews regularly personified physical forces and abstract concepts, sometimes describing them mythically as divinities. This holds for some Old Testament depictions. In 2 Samuel 22, the torrents of Belial, in the sense of treacherous waters, are parallel to breakers of death, i.e., deadly waves. This personification of death, with Ugaritic Mot, the god of death, indicates here a similar personification of wickedness, treachery, or the like, as Belial. In the Psalms recension of the same text, the bonds of death stands in parallelism with the torrents of Belial. These same torrents are referred to later in the poem as mighty waters, a term with mythic associations. Okay. Oh god. Okay, so I'm not gonna read all of this because I think I get it. I've been doing some reading. I have a let me actually go find the actual book title before I misspeak. The book I've been reading on my own time is called Crucible of Faith by Philip Jenkins. Philip Jenkins is a academic biblical scholar. Crucible of Faith is talking about the first couple of centuries BCE, like 350 to 50 BCE, before the Common Era, and how before that time, the Jewish and pre-Christian faith and religious modalities and cultural modalities didn't include the concept of intermediary entities, angels and demons and the like. How the monotheist kind of shifted to needing those intermediaries, and how that cultural shift happened. That's the Crucible era is what he's calling it. And he goes into a great amount of detail about pseudepigraphic, apocalyptic, the Qumran literature, those different canon or canon adjacent works. And so pseudepigraphic, I'm going to show off a little bit here. Pseudepigraphic means a book that was written at a later time than the author it was ascribed to. It's ghost written, basically, is what this means. So some of the books of Daniel, Job, Ezekiel, that kind of stuff is pseudepigraphic. They were not written by the people they claim to have been written by. They were written by later scholars and creative individuals, and they basically just said, oh, this won't be, nobody will read this because it's going to be considered heretical if I don't, let me just assign this to Daniel or whatever. And so that's pseudepigraphic. So some of them are great. Some of them got included in the canon, like the Book of Daniel. Others, like Enochian and Enoch, the books of Enoch and stuff like that, did not get included. And so those are from the Qumran, which is like the Dead Sea Scrolls and a bunch of other stuff that was found at a different location. The Qumran, I think it was a valley. But apocalyptic stuff is specifically... it's not necessarily disaster, it's just end times. Apocalyptic is the word for literature that talks about the end of time. And it is literature, not necessarily prophetic, but it is religious in nature and dealing with looking ahead. Rather than looking back, it looks ahead. So yeah, I'm not gonna read all of this, but had to show off a little bit there. So basically, Belial is it does seem like it's a different term that got applied to Lucifer on the back end. By the Christians. The Christians basically bastardized Belial to apply to Lucifer, to Satan, to the devil. Yeah, so it's a Hebrew word used to characterize the wicked or the worthless. So it's basically like saying, dumbass. Oh god, okay. I'm gonna move on before I get struck by lightning. Oh, this is so bright. Oh god. What is this one again? Okay. So, the Vulgate we know is the books that Catholicism uses. Commonly used as a synonym of sin. Okay, I'm just gonna move on from that. Oh, why is everything so bright? Oh god. Okay. I'm gonna leave it alone for now. Oh god, that was way too bright. Ah. Okay. So, all of that, to say that Lucifer ain't a vampire. Lucifer ain't a vampire. It was a good effort on... Oh, why does my eye like this? Hang on one moment, please. Give me just a second to try to fix my eyeball there. Okay. Alright, so yeah, the all of this to say that the Coven and the Cursed, a good effort as far as like, it's a really intriguing concept. I just feel like the execution left a lot to be desired. Now again, I have not read them in their entirety. I do intend to read them in their entirety. Because I like a lot of similar stuff. As an example, allow me to introduce you to another series that I personally feel hits a lot more of the themes and elements that this series could have hit. Anne Bishop's The Black Jewels books. It says trilogy because there was initially 3 of them. The series has since grown into what I feel is an appropriate number of 12 books. It is a very good series. I thoroughly enjoy this series. This series, however, is dark. It is dark as shit. To provide you with some insider information here. Not trying to spoil anything, because I do believe that if you feel up to it, everybody should read these books if they have an interest in dark academia and like alternative witch types of civilizations and stuff like that. This series deals with a lot of sexual assault and trauma. It is a core element of the world building, because a witch's power relies in her womb area. And a witch can be broken if she is violated for her first time. One of the civilizations in this world building has been very heavily corrupted by a high priestess who believes that all men should cower at her feet and all women should be less powerful than her. That's kind of the core of her like character there, is she wants to be the top dog, the top bitch, and she uses very, very bad means to get there. So many witches were broken by her subservient males on her orders so that she could be the top bitch. Because so one of the things that I had, that myself and Reads with Rachel had issues with from the Coven book, was that male witches, like males who were born to witch bloodlines, must either give up their magic so that they may sire children, or be killed. No male witch, suffer not a male witch to live, apparently. But in the Black Jewels books, male witches, or they're called blood males. The blood being the magical people. So blood males are allowed to live, but they are expected to be of lesser power than the females. The blood is supposed to be a matriarchal society. It's supposed to be. This high priestess corrupted it in this one realm, in this one region. But there are three blood males who are extremely powerful. So let me go show y'all real quick. I'm gonna go off on a little bit more of a tangent here. But see, look at this. This is some good shit. This is some good contrast right here. This looks great. Anyway, I'm gonna go to here. No, wrong. I'm gonna go to, where is it? There it is. The jewel hierarchy. So the jewels, in this universe, they are kind of the reservoirs and like the signifiers of a witch or blood male's power. So a white jewel, a yellow jewel, these are light colored jewels. They're not very deep wells of power. There's not a lot of power there, so they're considered less powerful and less threatening. And then you've got all the way down here, the red is kind of where we start getting into like uber power. Like we're talking about like Superman and Doctor Strange up here. Red, gray, ebon gray, and black. So we've got these three super powerful males, right? Two of them are black jeweled black widows. There's another hierarchy. There's like a twofold hierarchy. Here we go. So males and females have their hierarchies, and black widows are specialist witches who deal with the mind. They can do prophecies, they can do illusions, they can do dreams and visions and things like that. And then warlord princes is kind of the male side of the spectrum. They are the most territorial of the male guys. So these two black jeweled males are black jeweled black jeweled warlord prince black widows. They're the only two male black widows to exist. And of those two black jeweled warlord prince black widows, one of them is 50,000 plus years old, no longer among the living. He is a blood drinking guardian, like a half-life. Basically, they're vampires. The guardians are vampires. They drink blood wine to survive. But they are able to extend their lifespan beyond the norm. And his name is Satan Daemon Sa Diablo. Which, I know, it sounds cheesy. But here's the thing, is all of this world building that has been done creates this when I first read that the vampiric demon king of hell black widow warlord prince guy who's 50,000 years old, when I first read that his name is Satan, I'm like, oh great, here we go again, another wannabe like Christianography thing. And it's not. It's so, it builds its own meaning and its own canon for these aspects. It's so good. It is dark. It is gory. There's a lot of bad shit that happens in these books, including trauma to children. But it fits in the world. So it's not for everyone. I guarantee it is not for everyone. I recommend you read it if you can handle these really dark themes. I've never actually looked. Let me go look at the trigger database. Trigger warnings, black jewels, and bishop. Let's go look. There we go. Well, that's a Tumblr. There we go. Okay. Nice. Okay. Can we get... Is this going to show us specific triggers? Maybe? Yes. Okay. So yeah, lots of issues here. Lots of issues, but well done in the world building. Not well done as in it's a joy to read. It is hard to read. It is gut wrenching and it is hard to read. But it fits and it builds the world. It is not trauma porn for trauma porn's sake, and that's the important thing. So yeah, it's like I said, it's not for everyone. But I feel like this, when I was watching reads with Rachel and listening to her like take on the different like plot elements and everything, I'm like, this feels like somebody took Black Jewels and made it worse. That's what it felt. It was what it felt like, and I'm sad because Black Jewels is so good. Yeah, it's again not good as in it's a joy to read for the trauma. It is hard to read the trauma, but it is good for the story and the growth and everything that like the catharsis of the good guys winning is the best I've ever. It's one of the best I've ever read. It's on par there with Star Wars, when the rebellion triumphs. So yeah, it's good. Anyway, so yeah. Let's trace my game of telephone real quick. So we started with this book, went on a deep dive about we went all the way to could Lucifer actually be a vampire? Trigger warnings for Rebecca Yaros's books, which are some other dark academia similar flavor books. Who is Belial? Don't even remember how we got there. And then one of my favorite series for this sort of flavor of book, dark fantasy, romance, academia, witch, blood, all that jazz, the Black Jewels trilogy. Not actually as widespread as I thought I would get, but yeah. So if you've been watching, I do appreciate you hanging out with me for this Meandering Mondays. This is kind of, like I said, I'm gonna try to keep this to a it's like a spring. I start with a springboard idea, and then I just see where it takes me. And that's where we ended up today, was all the way from the Coven to the Black Jewels to who Lucifer is to vampires and the best way to like write trigger warnings for books that deal with vampires and witches and trauma and things like that. I hope you got something out of it. I don't expect everyone to keep up with me entirely for that, but like I said, this is kind of an experimental project of mine as far as hopefully I'll be able to look back later on and be like, yo, I have grown from this. We even had Ayn Rand in there. How did I forget Ayn Rand was in here too? Yeah, no, I actually did go far afield. I did. God, okay. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed hanging out here and listening to my long-winded ramble. I hope you got something out of it. Please check out my other channel, my main channel, which is Nasa Does Games. I'll be streaming something tonight. I may actually go back to Stardew again tonight. But yeah, I stream games on my second channel. It's on Twitch and YouTube, Nasa Does Games. Check out my Blue Sky and Twitter, which are right over here. You can see the little handles right over there. And definitely give a looky-loo to Michael Gelfi. I enjoy his music. I use it for D&D and I use it for YouTube. And if you feel up to it, go give the review that Reads with Rachel did for the Coven. And if you feel so inclined, please do support the authors that were mentioned in this in this episode, which is the Coven and the Cursed by Harper L. Woods, and the Black Jewels trilogy by Anne Bishop, or the expanded Black Jewels universe, which includes up to 12 books, depending on which modality you choose to read. So as far as I'm aware, I'm not missing anything. So thank you for hanging out. Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more later this week. We'll have, I think I titled it Writing Wednesdays. This Wednesday at, again, 4 p.m. Central, and gaming in between here and there. I hope y'all have a great week. I'm hyped. So I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Have a good one.